live. Okay, here we are back again. Please let us know if you can hear my voice and if you can hear the other guy's voice. I'll introduce him in a minute.
My voice.
Yes, but we just need to know that you can hear us and see us, and we're just going to relax for a moment. We're going to zen out.
Greetings, traveller. I'm going to take you on a little journey.
It's showing me
Interviewing special guests.
in the
And
YouTube.
we're live!
What was that?
That was you. That was you.
Oh, okay. That's fine. So yeah, give us a wave in the chat. Let us know that you can hear us before we start proper. Because yesterday I had my mic off, which was ridiculous. But I was really funny, which is the main thing. Can hear you both. Thank you, HR Terror. Ooh, is that like HR Geiger or HP Lovecraft? Is it a mixture of those sorts of things? It doesn't really matter, and you're not going to be able to answer me for 30 seconds because of the delay. But so, we're going to crack on this evening. Welcome to Molten Chat. Here we are again, having another crack at this madness. Many more to come, and some we've already done. But this evening, we are here in the company of Manu Retamero. That's probably the best pronunciation I'll go for. He's the main man at Befaco. Who make modules and kits, and he's been sending me stuff and kits, and we've been making things and talking to each other, and so we thought it'd be really good to get together to talk about modular synthesis, to talk about DIY, those sorts of things, soldering tips, and whatever else springs to mind, really. So I'll stop talking for a second and say, Manu, how you doing? Thanks for coming on, and how the heck are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm fine. I'm here enjoying my room for the 5th week. So no, but doing good. I'm so pleased to be here. I've been listening to you and seeing your videos, and being here. I have to see another little nervous.
Yeah. So I mean, perhaps we should get Spain out of the way to start with. How are you doing over there, generally speaking? Are you doing all right? Are you holding things together?
Yeah. The short answer is yes. We are holding it together, being all right. It's I guess that it's global, no? When you need to follow these new rules that tells you cannot go for a walk, and it's making your life harder to go to work or to do their normal life and staying home. It's challenging. So yeah, I guess that in our little world where we are used to stay long hours on the cave with our scenes or doing things, it makes things easier.
Yeah.
But it's starting to pay off after 5 weeks. It's like
I mean, I think even for very insular people like ourselves, perhaps, who spend a lot of time messing around with synthesizers, that it does get to wear after a while. Even we like to occasionally have drinks with people, or meet them for something.
Meet other human beings,
other human beings, I mean, I'm a bit of a gamer, a tabletop gamer, and we've recently started one of those legacy games where you have a 6-player game, and you play the same game sort of once a month, and the game changes and develops as you go. And we're like 2 months into it, and now we can't play it. We can't get together to do this thing. That's driving us nuts. But we are gradually working through all our other board games at the moment, which has been a lot of fun. just in the family,
Yeah, these platforms where you have like this like sandbox where you can just touch everything and just play like if it will be real thing. It's like being here chatting with you instead of being on a pub having the beer.
Yeah, although that would be nice. That would be nice too. Yeah, so tell us, what have you been doing live stream wise so far? Because you've already been on something, haven't you?
Yeah. I was on the Southern California Synth Society Summit.
Great.
That's yesterday.
A bit of a mouthful. Is that California, isn't it? So the California Synth Society or something?
See, Southern California.
Oh yes. So just the south part of California, of course. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I was part of this soldering hour, which was an amazing concept. It was like just gathering 6 people at home and working on a project. So they introduce us outside. What you are gonna be doing? Well, I'm gonna be working on this, and me and this, and this, and then each of us started working and talking about what was happening to us at that moment, or little tweaks and tweaks about the projects and people making questions. So it was very nice because it's what I'm doing here, like soldering alone, but with my headphones, and maybe I was for 15 minutes shut up, just soldering and listening to people talking about their things, which was very, very nice.
Oh, see, that's interesting because I was thinking the other day that maybe I should just live stream the rest of the Decade stream. Because at the moment, I mean, because DIY projects are immensely time consuming in terms of the videoing. Because, it might take me all day. So I'll end up, well, I don't do it quite in the same way now. I tend to skip a bit and just leave it to the time lapse. But to start with, or with smaller projects, I film the whole thing. So I end up with like 4 hours of footage from 3 cameras that I then, I've then got to edit that down to something hopefully under an hour. It's amazingly intensive. And I was thinking, well, if I could just live stream it, then I wouldn't actually have to do any editing at all. It would just be there as a 5-hour thing.
Yeah.
There as an event. And I wonder how interesting that would be. I mean, would people be interested in watching somebody solder in real time for that length of time? It seems as though.
I think so, yeah. I think so. That maybe you're going to have a lot of moments of silence.
Yeah.
But it's so nice because I don't know if you're the kind of person that talks alone while doing things and commenting. It happens to me. I find myself speaking to myself. Okay, well, these are 2. Oh, God damn it, there are 2. Why not? And I'm alone.
Oh yeah. No, I'm forever going orange, brown, black, orange, brown, orange. Things like that. But that became. I mean, that was one of the problems, because when I film everything and I do talk to camera and I do a little bit and I talk to camera, that's great. But as I say, it's too massive. So now that I've done a bit of talking to camera and then I switched to just the GoPro doing time lapse, I then haven't, it's not recording my voice, so I've got nothing to say. I just get on with it. And something is a little bit lost in that. Because I am sitting there, bumbling away to myself and having a look at things, and I would talk to camera, but I just can't deal with the time it takes to edit that down afterwards. It's just too much.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know, maybe a live stream. But then I also think, well, but if it doesn't go well, I want to also have it captured so I can then edit it down.
Or maybe
and do a proper one.
Yeah, but for example, what Ben said yesterday, doing like a mix concept where you can live stream.
Yeah.
That you are gonna be doing that, and then you are setting up, you are preparing, you say live with people, okay, I'm gonna do this and that. I have this hurdle, I'm not sure if going in this way. What do you guys think? And go to it for an hour, 2 maybe, and then you keep on working after the stream, and then you do like a report on how it ended up, because doing, or maybe you do a live stream of 6-7 hours. Why not?
Yeah. Well, maybe worth a go. I'm just slightly scared of doing it wrong, and because I've invested so much in this project so far, that perhaps I really should finish that in the way that it's been done so far, if you know what I mean. So I capture it all completely, and maybe with something new I could then think about. I don't know. I'll see what happens on the spur of the moment. Just to answer a couple of questions I saw in the chat quickly. First of all, DA38, yeah, absolutely. Make me an offer. I don't want it. I've got 2 tapes, I think, maybe 3. Can't remember what's on them. But yeah, well spotted. And funnily enough, we started the Pandemic Legacy in January. I bought it for our family for Christmas, and we started playing it in January. Ironically, we are up to April now, because you do it in 12 months, not that you have to play it in the particular month, but we have won twice and lost twice, I think. Now we won first one, then lost, and you have to play February again, which we won. Then we played March and lost, played March again and lost, and now we're into April. So yeah, but that's fantastic. I can highly recommend that. But that's a bit of an aside.
I never managed to win in Pandemic ever.
No.
No.
Ah.
No.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's good. I mean, the legacy thing, I was never convinced by the whole legacy idea, the concept of playing the same game that you developed and you ripped up things and you put stickers on the board. That seemed odd to me. But actually, having now played a couple of those, excuse me, I'm just adjusting my shoes, getting rid of them. I really like it. I really like it, although it does take a little bit of commitment, I have to say.
Yeah.
Oh, Mostly Random says he'd watch a Decard stream. Yeah, a bit like ASMR. Yeah, okay, we're back to that conversation again. We'll talk about that on Thursday. Yeah. So you think the Synth Society thing went all right? Was it a worthwhile
Yes,
thing?
yes, it was indeed. And just after, because it was funny because it was first Ben, the kid, was with them.
Right.
Then when he finished, I started, and then when he finished, he started with you.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then after mine, there was this hip hop chat. Well, the modular hip hop scene in the States. There are a few artists there doing this hip hop-ish vibes with the modular, hyper interesting. So I had to choose if sticking there or coming to yours with Ben. So I choose you.
Yeah. So do you think? What do you think of the modular live scene? Do you think there is a bit of one, or is it just for sort of synth nerds and synth meets and electronic clubs, that kind of thing? Or do you think it has had any impact on the more mainstream, the wider audience? Yeah, I have no feel for that at all because there's no Top of the Pops on the telly, so I have no clue what's going on.
I think that it's getting there, because you see more and more modular scenes in different stages. So I have the impression that it's sticking as an instrument, and many different styles or many different environments are starting to take it as a valid tool of producing sounds. So I wouldn't say that there is like other modular scenes. What I think it's that slowly the modular is getting into the music making, so like guitars. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess a lot of people, certainly to start with, seem to sample modular. So they create an interesting loop or something that's going on their piece of modular. They'll sample that and then use it in a track. As opposed to having the modular contribute to the writing of the music, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I think perhaps that's changing, and it's starting to crop up in different things.
I'm seeing more and more people going live with the modular more than using it as a sound design tool. More and more every time. At the beginning, it was very nerdy just to be at home and tweaking here and there and maybe sampling and using it on the song producing way of doing things. And I think it's getting more and more into the live environment, and people are enjoying more this freedom or this craziness that the modular can get you in.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, one thing that was preventing me, I think, from moving into modular, this is a few years ago when I was first interested, was I couldn't find any melody. I could find a lot of sort of what you see Richard Devine do, which is great. I'm not in any way criticizing that, but to someone from outside, what you seem to be looking at this massive machine making masses of weird interlaced noises, which is really difficult to access until you get a bit more of a feel for it. And so there's two things that I saw. First of all was modular on the roof. I'm not quite sure which one it was, but there was a guy. He just had a small suitcase. It had can't remember what it was now, but quite a large synth voice in it, which was a monophonic thing, just playing a line over and over again. And he did it for like half an hour, and this line just changed a little bit, and it evolved and moved. And you're sort of watching it for a bit, and then just gradually find yourself just sitting back and sinking, and then it's just like, this is lovely. And it was just a melody, it's just a melody of slowly evolving sound. And I thought, well, what is that? You know. And then the next thing was Sonergy, I think. Is it called, from Suzanne Kiani and and Aurelia Smith? They did a collaboration together, and they had two large modular synthesizers sitting side by side, and they just played. They just interacted, and they played, and they made sound, and it was melodious, and it was amazing, and they talked as they did this thing, and it was a beautiful thing to watch. And it was those two things that gave me the idea that this was more than a bleepy bloopy noise thing. It can be that, and I don't mind it being that necessarily, but I'm also it's finding the melody in it, I think, is something that I found to be important, and that continues to be a journey and a path and stuff. Yeah, well, there you go. So, so I mean, you perform a bit. I mean, I've seen quite a few images of you doing sets.
Yeah.
Do you take? I mean, how big is your rig for that? Is it a
small, very small?
Very small. Oh,
yeah, it really changes from a 6U to Rose.
Yeah.
Also to a very small lunch boost thingy, but because what I do basically, it's layering sounds on a droney ambient thing. So for this kind of vibes, for this kind of music sounds, it's very convenient. So for example, what I would change my mind, and it was the X-Mix, an expander thing. In fact, this model was designed because we had this need of having a mixer. And back then I was having my modular system and then a mixer. I was a noob. I'm talking about like 3 years ago, and I didn't knew about the basics of mixing. This concept of post fader, pre fader, sends, returns, like properly routing your signal into your mixer. I wasn't really. I never did it. So when I found the beauty of a mixer, I had this Soundcraft EPM 6, ES6, I don't remember. 6 channels, a couple of sends, return in stereo, and then I found myself having a patch, more or less static, not many modulation sources, and then playing all the time with the mixer. Like bringing in and out one or two sound sources, or maybe if it's post fader, the send. So I remove the original sound and I just send the signal to the effect, and I only have the return of the effect. So that little things overlays. I really love it, and I find it's simple, but for me it's super enjoyable. I have like a couple of radio musics. And then a radio tuner, a voltage control FM tuner, which is fantastic. It's I love it. It's just this. You go to a place and you are not sure what you are gonna be catching, and if you go to different countries, you get a speech of whoever in a language you don't know. So you just put it
that's
there.
Interesting. Yeah.
And super. And then sometimes I like to get it more rhythmical. Then it's when I need like the full 6U. If it's only this, like overlaying things with the little lunchbox, the X-Mix, a couple of effects, 2-3 sound sources, I can get my half an hour, 40 minutes of droney ambient, super nice. Then with VCAs, you can get those sound sources and then trigger them to do some sounds. I really like the glitchy part. So if you have a radio and then you CV control the radio tuning and then open the envelope, it will do like, so give you this Richard Devine-ish thing.
Yeah, but I mean that's nice because that's something you're doing on the fly, as opposed to having that all worked out.
Yeah. Actually, I also love to do live patching because it's a kind of sport thing, but why not? But in this kind of thing, when you are multi-layering things and slowly evolving, you can let yourself start with a clean synth and then patch one sound and leave it droning and then
Yeah.
do this. And I find that very enjoyable, to
That's
say.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to do a bit more of that. I'm not quite. I mean, I've done a little bit of live streaming of stuff, but usually because I've stumbled upon something that I quite liked, so I'm going to suddenly kick that out there. Whereas starting from scratch is a bit scarier. But I mean, the whole mixing thing is something is one of those hoops you have to jump through when you get started in modular, because you start off, at least I started off with a quad VCA, which was a good purchase. To buy a quad VCA means that I didn't have to worry about mixing for a little while. You know, as my system began to grow, I had 4 things I could play with, which would then go to a single output. And then I bought an output module, the Make Noise one, and that had 2 inputs. So I could then, you know, I've now got 5 things going on. Then I bought another little mixer. So I've got a submix over there, a submix over here, and more things going in. And at some point it gets out of control. And as you, and if everything is on little tiny Eurorack knobs scattered around the place, it's hard to cut things in and out. Yeah, that's when something like, you know, DivKid's mutes comes in, or the mute on, something like that. So you can quickly get stuff on and off. Although I have to say, live, in the chaos of live performance and the fear of live performance, I bought this mute on exactly for that thing. So I've got 8 things in it. It's all lights. So so I have 8 things going in, that going straight out to the mixer. And in the middle of my gig, in my 20 minutes or whatever it was, I couldn't remember which was on and off. I can't remember whether it was muted with the light on or muted with the light off. And I'm ending up sort of punching this thing going, I don't really know what I'm doing anymore. And, you know, the sound's going, woo, and then woo, and woo, ah. And it's like, oh my goodness. And funny enough, DivKid's mutes, and hey, Ben's in the audience, which is nice.
Hey, Ben.
It's the best module ever. But the fact that it's got switches actually gives you a little bit more confidence as to where things are, because you know what's on and off a little bit more, I think. And also the momentary part of it as well is quite nice, in that you can just bring something in for a second and then let it go, and you know, and off you go. Yeah. So yeah, things like that. Before having to buy a mixer, I felt, you know, I could perhaps get away with mute buttons, and they're still very, very useful. So yeah, it becomes a whole thing trying to mix while you do it, and in some ways, from what you said about you then not really patching, you're using the mixer, and that's a shame, because you could just as well be running Ableton Live, you know, and turning things up and down with that. There has to be, I think, that interaction with the machine that elevates that modular performance to something slightly different, perhaps.
Yeah. I think it's all ways of doing things are valid. It's you can elevate like the fact that something is being done, but also some setups that have these uber complicated patches. Someone that needs to travel with the case patched because the patch took months to be ready. Don't change my patch. That has it's a very valid point, because this person spent a lot of time getting it ready and getting exactly the sound. It's just a different thing. It's, instead of being so adventurous or explorative or trying to share a moment, you are sharing your couple of months' work with people.
Yeah. Although, I mean, to be fair, I mean, I do these usually monthly. It hasn't happened for a little while, obviously, but we do these monthly or bi-monthly open mic nights in Norwich that I've been going along to. I found them tremendously challenging and fantastic. You know, a nice bunch, small bunch of people. You get an audience of 2 or 3, you know, and most of those are the other people who are going to be on. So we're essentially playing to ourselves. But even so, it feels like a gig, you know, and you get 20 minutes. And I have gone through sort of every stage, from taking just a single row, you know, wrapped up under my arm, plonk it down, fantastic, to bring in the whole, well, half of my thing, you know, 1 3 row Moog 104 HP wide thing, and trying to get that all the way into Norwich inside a speaker box, a speaker soft thing for a PA speaker type thing. It fits quite nicely, surrounded by stuff, all patched up. But every time I've done it, I've patched it up during the day. So on the day of the gig, I've just put stuff together and started working on it and massaging it and then taking it along. And it's one of the things, I think Divkid actually said this last night about how you suddenly realize how much simpler it would be just to take a laptop and a MIDI keyboard and a controller and do it that way, because suddenly you've got all this stuff and there's so much room for things to go wrong or to break or to, get stolen even. And because, I go through cycles of trying to simplify, and Modular certainly isn't a road to simplification. It's something else.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But I've never had as much fun, I don't think, as doing a live modular thing. It's intense and it's scary because the other thing is I turn the lights off and it's hot and I can't see and I don't know where anything is. Everything feels really small. The whole thing is massive amount of stress and stuff. But it's like, I'm going to do this. I'm challenging myself. This is it. And all 5 people at the bar give you a polite applause at the end. But, it doesn't matter. For me, it was amazing.
Yeah.
But I'll step up to something larger at some point, perhaps. For heaven's sake, I'm streaming to millions I am. But yeah, one day I'll step up to a bit of a larger gig, I think, at some point.
Or not. Well, I think it's just letting yourself go, and if it happens, happen, and if it doesn't, you go back to your computer, you go back to a couple of iPads, and that's it. Because if you see the power of the iPad apps right now, and with the current situation with a couple of those monsters, and an audio interface and maybe a mixer, you have a gig.
Yeah. Well, I'm also a fan of folk and acoustic music, and I play guitar and stuff, and can quite happily sit and sing with just a guitar. Or I've heard people just sing. The idea, I think, of trying to, I do often think quite hard about, if I was writing this song on guitar, it would just have a chord and a couple of notes, because so often Modular starts to overwhelm in the amount of sound sources you've got. You've got a dozen different sounds going on that you're trying to mix all at the same time, when actually you don't need anything near that much. Most music has far less than that in it, but who knows? We just like layering stuff up. I think it's protection. It's like a blanket. We just go, another layer of sound, that will protect me from.
But it's so easy to get into this, like getting too much into it. It's the easiest thing. You have this monster that can do everything, so it's so easy just to get carried away and start to patch everything with everything, because you have modulation sources. Why not modulate this and then this and this, attenuate this and attenuate and modulate that?
Yes.
It's so easy. I for a while now, I'm doing an effort of simplifying and trying to do simple things, because I find myself also getting lost. When I was trying with 12 views, like 12 views, 98 HPs, and trying to have like my rhythmical section and then some this and that, and trying to make a structure for the gig, or getting overwhelmed so easily, because I cannot just say this and that. The more I have, the more I want to use. I just get blocked. So a little lunchbox for me, simple thing.
Yeah. But then you go, but I just need to plug that in. So I need a second lunchbox just to run
that thing.
And then I might as well stick them together into a larger case.
Maybe I'm gonna have this sequencer here. Sequencer.
Yeah, I know how it goes. Yeah. Well, your sequencer then pops external, doesn't it? So little things start coming external, and then you get a bunch of guitar pedals, and it grows again in a different way. So I'm not going to change the modular. Modular is just in a lunchbox. Okay, they're all 2 HP now, so I've got 50 modules in there, because they're all little weenie ones. And now I've gone for guitar pedals outside. It's So tell me anyway,
Yeah.
about Befaco. What's all that about? How long you been doing it? Yeah, give us the 2-minute tour of
Okay.
what made you start in this silly business?
Oof. So what made me start I think that the beginning of it all, it was a workshop from Tom Bax, like almost 11 years ago. Tom Bax from Backbrand. He came to Barcelona and he did a workshop of a little machine. It was called the Workshop Oscillator Machine.
Okay.
So back then I started to visit Hangar. It's an artistic production center here in Barcelona. So I subscribed to the newsletter. So I got this email saying, okay, build your own synthesizer.
Mm.
And it was like, ooh, because I have a background. I went to the university. I had an industrial engineering degree, but I didn't like the ambience and the all the engineer thing. It wasn't for me. I finished. I got my degree, but then I left. I went to live to Amsterdam and work as an IT guy. Me. So when so long story. So so when I saw this announcement, build your own synthesizer in this workshop, it really appealed to me because I really love electronics. I really love to hack video consoles and do things with electronics. But never found something that really appealed to me, and this really appealed to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I went there, I built the thing, and when I finished, I called a friend, and I said, hey, Bruno, let's meet at my place. I built this amazing thing. Bring your Game Boy, and let's do whatever. So we hooked this workshop monster with a Game Boy and a Buddha machine and the Nintendo DS with the Electroplankton game. And then we mixed and we started doing noise, and it was fantastic. It was... it was a life-changing experience. Now that I stop to think on that moment, it was like. So the thing is that Tom Bax not only did this workshop, he also did a demonstration a different day. I wasn't there of his book brand modular system.
Right.
So he was showing his little system, 3Us with bananas and the thing is that Diego, I didn't met him. Diego is one of the founders of Befaco. I didn't met him at that time, so he went to this talk. He was already mingling with modulars, 5U music from outer space. And then when he saw this little thing, he really said, "Oh, I want to do that.
Mm.
I want to do like a modular system that it's small, it's portable." Because Tom was traveling with a case.
Yeah.
And had a very powerful modular synthesizer in a briefcase. That was like cuckoo. I go, what is this? so Diego and Jano, another guy, they decided to do workshops as well because they saw the workshop, they see the modular, and said, okay, let's do the workshops. So I saw the mailing. So I met Diego and Jano. They made these workshops about also little noisers.
Mm-hmm.
And then Diego told me, hey, we have this plan. We're going to do a workshop we're going to build a modular synthesizer. We are going to build one module every month. So after 1 year, we are going to have a modular synthesizer. And it was like, count me in.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, and that was basically the beginning of Befaco. No? Diego and this other guy, Jano, they said, okay, doing workshops is nice, and we are gathering a nice bunch of people. Try to imagine what kind of person is gonna sign in to a modular workshop. So they saw this and hey, we need to find a way to make this last as long as possible. So let's make a modular, because the modular you need to make modules. Mm-hmm. So that was the initial idea, and that's how Befaco was born. Back then it wasn't Befaco; it didn't even have a name. But then they organized the first workshop for the BCO, and I went there, and also I was also designing my own things, and then we kept on doing this modular thing, and after a while we started to work together, and I was helping them, and then me and Pascual, another friend, we started designing as well modules. So let's say that it was something that was created around a series of workshops.
Yeah.
where you have geeky people and everybody with a different focus. So there were a lot of musicians that wanted to build their own modular synthesizer, but for some of us, it was not only because of the music, because I've never played a modular before. Even designing, but it was more like the challenge of building this thing and learning in the process. And so some of us not only started building, but also got into designing and doing workshops. We are talking about 10 years, 10 years ago. Befaco turned 10 years now in February.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, there's something fascinating about working with electronics at that level. There's something about, I mean, I guess, piston heads or whatever get it from cars, and other people get it from building guitars, but there is something about getting inside a machine somehow that because it's magic. Electricity is magic.
It is.
All of it is like what, and to actually get in there behind the curtain and put a few things together that work in some way is miraculous. There is something fascinating about it, regardless of what it is you're actually building. I mean, it's almost like an added bonus that it's going to make music or make a noise, but it's just that act of putting these components, these mysterious things together. It's an odd thing.
It is, and not everybody is catching it in that way, or we all have a different approach and feeling about that. There is something that was also happening, and more or less like this is like when you feel that you are building the machine, and then you are understanding a little bit more what's happening there, and you start to see like not only the synth, but also the components in there. Like you have the power, power, that's important, and that's like this, like that, and ICs and this. Then you start to understand, and the nice thing was that we felt that we were empowered to not only use our own instruments, but also to fix them, to be able to fix them.
Yes.
And actually really own them. It's an odd feeling when so that you feel that you own it, because I found myself on stage with a soldering iron fixing my synth several times.
That's hardcore, that is.
Well, the hardcore is that you get to the gig and the bloody oscillator stops oscillating.
Yeah.
But then you say, okay, wait, you open and you. So it's a very nice feeling, I think.
Yeah.
It's a very, very, very nice. Maybe, but after 10 years, you don't fully understand, and I'm very bad at fixing things, but way better than 10 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's surprising what you learn, because I mean, I have a terrible memory, sadly, but I've recently shot a video with my son, with my oldest. He's 13, and I wanted him to learn how to solder. I thought that'd be an interesting thing to do. We're homeschooling, all those sorts of things are working into that. And so I sat him down with this relatively easy project from a guy up in Glasgow. It's just a simple 50 quid synth. It's actually based on the Me Blip. Yeah. So a cool little thing, a good starter project. And so we sat down and spent an afternoon, and I showed him how to solder. You don't really teach someone to solder. You just sort of go, well, you kind of like go like this, and then they just have to do it. As long as they're not holding the hot end, it's going to work. So, but it was really interesting stepping through that with him and answering his, damn fool stupid questions, because of course he has no clue at all. And so I would say things like, you've got to be careful you don't short it out. He says, well, what do you mean short it out? He says, well, a short circuit, as in, what is a short well, I guess, I mean, you make this stuff up. Well, I guess it's because it's taken the shortest route. There you go, short circuit. Great, brilliant. So but I was pulling bits of information. What does a diode do? Okay, it lets stuff through in one direction, and so it doesn't come back. Well, why would you do that? I have no idea. But it's important. It's definitely important that it only goes in one direction at this point. And there's all of these things, and talk about capacitors. They hold charge, and resistors, they stop stuff. And all of this this stuff. I mean, I did do an electronics O level like for 35 years ago. So I do have and I did physics and stuff. So I understand R1, R2 plus whatever it was over what's it plus what's it. But actually trying to apply that into a practical situation it's just really interesting. And I feel like, I have learned something in building kits that I've been doing for the last year or so. It has started to stick, and I do have the ability now to trace things better on the PCB and see where things are going to go. I still don't really fully understand it, but I have more of an inkling, and that's interesting, and hopefully inevitable I'll get even better at that.
Yeah. How long have you been DIYing? Sorry.
How long?
Yeah.
I don't know. I did the Turing machine. Someone could probably look it up quicker than I can. When I did the Turing machine.
maybe checking your YouTube channel.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was probably 2 years, because I've been doing the Deckard's Dream a year. So it must have been a year before that I started doing DIY.
So you're counting your time in Deckard's Dreams, no?
Yeah, no.
I've been on DIY too, Deckard's Dreams.
Yeah. Yeah, but it definitely bit me straight away. It was like, this is brilliant. I mean, I have done a little bit of soldering. I say I did some when I was at school. I think, did we ever do any? I'm pretty sure we had these big boards that you put plates of metal along to create a circuit, and then a big chunky thing that made a resistor. I think that's as much as we got as doing that. But
more than I did.
Yeah, but I did at university do part of my degree. I did music technology, but the focus of my degree was Rule and Rose Baroque flute making. Of course, it was. And so I did woodwork and metalwork as my music technology degree. But I had an element of it where I built a flute MIDI converter.
Okay.
So to take the sound of this wonderful wooden flute that I had built and to convert that to run an M1, which is what they had in the studio. And so I had done a little bit, but that was 25 years ago. Shit, that's a long time. November 2017. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, there you go. So a couple of years, just over a couple of years. So
okay, but it gives you some time to get some understanding. It's a process. Some of us it takes like 10 years.
Yeah, but the key thing is you don't need to understand it. That's been the revelation that I've had. Well, with this whole thing, the whole modular thing, you don't have to understand it.
Yeah.
I often meet sort of higher level creative people, perhaps I call them, the people who just make the music and don't seem to be interested in the technology, and they'll use anything and they'll just make music with it. And they don't seem to have any clue about how the technology works and those sorts of things. And I find that, inspirational, that you can just take a machine and work it because you understand sound, you understand what you're hearing, and you understand what's changing as you change things. I mean, of course, there's barriers and things you'll get wrong, but ultimately it's a machine that you can fiddle with without having to understand necessarily why things are doing what they're doing.
Yeah. I'm finding interesting this different way of approaching learning, which is non-academical. It's non-ruled, it's not based on achievements, let's say, where you are just thrown in there and given like the basic rules just to keep you walking. And in the process of walking the path, you will find the stones and stumble and learn on the process. It's not a matter of you need to be a master first. You need to be studying for 2 years, because if you analyze a modular synthesizer, it needs a full degree. But this approach of learn by doing.
Yeah.
And learn by making mistakes and listen to yourself on the process and see where you want to go, because it's so vast, so huge. We're talking about electronics or music or modular. It's so vast, so huge that it's way better that you just choose your own path while doing the thing. And because because we have these arguments online. No, you should do this. No, that. Blah, blah. And then people calling their certain names. No, I mean we all have.
Yeah, I've come up against the same thought process. I mean, for some people, they have to understand it, and that's their process. You know, their process is they learn something, study something, and then feel qualified to do something. I don't feel remotely qualified, but I don't know, I've been through enough to understand that the importance that some people hold with that is fine, but I don't have to hold it quite so tightly. And I think experimentation and being prepared to be wrong, you know, is a path that you can walk, and that's okay, you know.
Yeah, totally.
But it's also I don't want to come across as being anti-expert, or, you know, oh, bloody experts always telling us what to do. No, it's great to be an expert. It's great to have skills in doing something. That's awesome, but that doesn't have to be the be all and end all of everything, you know.
Yeah.
It's great that people like yourself and know how to put these things, how to design and build these things is awesome, but so that I don't have to, I can just play with the result of that.
Yeah.
You know? And that's brilliant. Actually, somebody asked in the chat if I would ask where your designs come from. So, I mean, particularly when you started, well, whenever, but when you started making modules, what were your designs based upon? I mean,
me personally, or Befaco in general? Me personally, the first module I started designing was the crash delay, the version 1 of the crash delay that was based on Scott Bernardi's PT2399 design. I found it. Found a post in a post with a schematic and people talking about the hurdles of the build in Electromusic. So that was my first interest. Okay, yeah, I want to build a delay and it will fit because this is the first one I started building as a collaboration with Befaco because we were not like full Befaco from the beginning. We were just guys that were going to the workshops and doing their own workshops in the south of Spain and doing things. So this was the first one, and then the second one was the instrument interface, the envelope follower.
Right.
That this was we got the information from here and there. There is this guy from Barcelona. He's called Juan Bermúdez. He designed a synthesizer. I always say synthesizer.
That's all right. Yeah. We understand.
So he designed a musical machine in the 70s, and so he was around, and we were asking him for. So he was finger pointing. Hey, check this envelope follower circuit, and check this filter, and check this that. So. Yeah, those were the first two. Then it was Pascual, the other Befaco guy, that crashed these two modules. So I kind of did the initial versions, the version 1, but then Pascual crashed them big time, like spending too many hours in front of a protoboard. And then from the Befaco, the first 3 modules of Befaco were taken from here and there. So the VCO, for example, the first VCO version 1, it was the VCO from Music from Outer Space, and then they.
Oh right, yeah.
So they took that oscillator and then the VCA of the Music from Outer Space, and then they built this VCO with VCA for each wave shape. So you have all the wave shapes and a VCA in each of them, and then a mix. Yeah. So you had a mix of everything. Then the VCF was also Music from Outer Space, but they added an extra pole to have more dBs.
So I mean, just to interject, because I know Music from Outer Space. Well, to say that I know it, I mean I've seen it, and my impression is that it was some guy who built a load of stuff and then kind of just left it or let it go, just said here you go, and has moved on to presumably, I don't know, he's living on an island somewhere.
Well, no, he passed away not long ago.
Oh, did he? Yeah. Really? Okay.
Yeah, he did sadly. But what he did that was amazing, that helped a lot of people, and Befaco as well, is that he was not only putting the information there, but also he was giving a very detailed information on how the circuit worked.
Right.
So telling you, okay, so we have the signal coming through here, and then here you have this buffer, and then after the buffer it gets tuned to the, and then there is this comparator.
Right.
So you have the schematics, then you have everything to make your own boards, to edge your own boards, but then the explanation of the circuit, which was very, very instructive.
Because that's brilliant, because that's exactly what you need. I mean, it seems to be remarkable that this guy just put all this information out there, because I've seen other people pick up those things and produce their own product with it, and said it comes from whatever it was you said it was, synths from outer space.
Music from outer space.
Music from outer space, there we go. And yeah, that's just brilliant. I mean, I think that's something that's fairly unique within this synth community. Is that, I mean, because one's assumption is that you must have all rifled around in Moog's archive somewhere and pulled out their schematics and all copied somebody else's, but it's interesting how it's come from different places and things emerge, and then it's in some ways it's almost focused on this guy, and then it's now gone out to a whole new generation of people, because this is sort of like we are in a bit of a new wave of modular. We perhaps in the last 5 years. I'm suggesting there, of course, there'll be people out there going, I've been doing it for 50 years, mate. Yeah, sure. But there seems, we're in a different time now. Things have changed and developed and continue to do so, and it's interesting.
Yeah, it is, and the thing is that there are, in all times, there are amazing things being made. Also, right now, and maybe no one is going to invent the wheel. But they are doing pretty dope 4+4 Wranglers to go. So the thing is that we are all standing on giants' shoulders.
Yeah.
Always. For example, there is a lot of designs that got from a publication that was done on the 70s in the States, Electronotes. Which was like this little paper that was sent by mail. You subscribe, you pay, and then they send you these pages, and people can contribute. So from there, a lot of designs that are still in use right now are coming from there. So yeah, let's say that there has been like a big chunk of information sharing. Well, it really exploded with internet, of course.
Yes, of course.
It's way different to receive at your place like these Electronotes paper written on a typewriter, that go into a forum. And for me, it really blew my mind that the internet thing. Go to a forum and someone is talking about something, you ask, and you have a problem, and they answer. They take the time to answer. It's like, wow, that's so nice.
Oh no, totally.
Yeah. So that was happening back then, but right now I think there is, as you say, this new wave. We are sort of surfing the wave continuously, but right now there is a very sweet moment, I think, on modules design with the digital availability. Right now it's so easy to go digital, where 6 years ago it was a little bit tricky.
Yeah. Do you mean digital in terms of the design in sort of PCB software and
building? No, I mean to get the digital part of things into analog designs, where modular has been analog for many years.
Yes.
And some people would like to, analog is the true sound. Right now with the digital world, with all these Arduinos and digital platforms, people with a limited knowledge can start building things, which is fantastic.
Yeah. Well, that is something that has been knocking around in the back of my head, thinking, I probably could potentially maybe design a module. How hard would that be? How interesting would that be? Yeah,
very.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, all we're talking about is voltage. Often, just talking about the movement of voltage and what comes. I don't have a tired face. Do I have a tired face? Sorry, just someone's abusing me in the chat. No, I just always look like this. I just usually hide it with glasses, but my eyes are screwed. But anyway, I digress. What was I
I
saying?
do.
Yeah,
Use glasses. Use glasses.
yeah, yeah.
It really hides your.
It hides my bags. Hang on, here we go. But then I won't be able to read the chat. See, everything's gone blurry. My glasses
Well,
like work in reverse. It's really strange. I need to.
the
Oh,
unseen glasses.
yeah. Oh, sod it. Anyway, so yeah, so it ultimately comes down to having an idea, isn't it? Because we're trying to move voltage around inside these modules, and a lot of it's already been done. I mean, of course, we can have our own slight tones or timbres or bits and pieces, but ultimately, you're trying to find either a solution to a problem. You're trying to do something in your rack, and you're trying to direct this to here or this to there, or do something, and trying to find an easier, better, more ergonomic way to do that, or you're just trying to push voltage around in a different way somehow that then sparks creativity. I guess that's what keeps on happening, and people keep on bringing out new modules in order to try to express that somehow.
But maybe what you should do is to remove all the mystic side of designing models and letting yourself go on the DIY side. You don't need to do a super fancy blinky model, but
yes, I do.
well, of course, yeah. But maybe you will start with I don't know, maybe the mutes thing. No, you need mutes. So you can just build your own mutes. Maybe they are clicky and dodgy as hell, but it's your mutes. I mean, it's just you just wired a few switches to mini jacks, or do some routing things. And I don't know. You want to swap your modulation sources from one side of the case to another case. So you build a model with mini jacks here, and switches, and you do like flap, and it's gonna be dirty as hell, and any electronic engineer will have a stomachache after seeing that. But it's your thing, and it's gonna work. And,
I can see that.
It's so, and I think that's the beginning of all evil.
Yeah,
because it's.
Because I mean, the last thing I need really is another rabbit hole to go down. I mean, I've already got 3 feet in 2 different rabbit holes. So
yeah, and
but yeah. I mean, I mean, it's inevitable. I can see into the future. I can definitely see that's going to happen at some point. But at the moment, I'm happy where I am.
Okay.
Which reminds me, let's talk briefly about a product. Right, there we go. You sent me this. It's turned up today. This did. So tell me a little bit about, because this, just for people who haven't seen me do DIY before.
Okay.
This to me is it's 2 PCBs in a front panel, so they'll sit behind each other.
Yeah.
And that the size of things that you've been going down to recently makes it quite challenging. To me,
it is indeed.
That's relatively challenging.
Yeah. I
it's
have
not
to say,
a walk in the park, you know.
No. It's not a sunny Sunday afternoon walk. No. The thing is that with some designs we are hitting this level. Yeah, look at that. Yeah. So we are hitting this size level where we're doing through hole designs. It's starting to get packed.
Yeah.
But still there. So that thing that you have there is the Percol, which is a model that it's finally releasing in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That thingy, it's a percussive-oriented model. And I sent it to you because I really like the way you face DIY. When I see your videos doing the DIY, I see you struggling and not cursing because you're a gentleman. You don't curse. But you struggle.
Yeah.
And I really like that. And I really wanted to send it to you earlier just to have some feedback from someone like you, someone that will actually get there and say, okay, there is something missing, or the instructions are not clear enough. So I have a build thing here.
That's my favourite thing, is pointing out inadequacies in people's manuals. I love that.
So this is an assembled one. So as you can see,
one second. I'm just going to make the screen. I can do that. Look, and you get a bit full screeny.
Yeah. So definitely it's packed indeed. It's really packed. It's getting to a level. So getting this into a meaningful user manual, it's challenging just to find the order of the components, that how to tell people to solder when. There are little things, maybe in this camera you cannot see, but there are things that some people will find ultra annoying. Is this kind of things here.
Ooh.
Where you have components in this side, components that are actually connected. So this is a way of saving some space on your board, because as you can see, all the soldering points, it's a little bit cramped, but still very organized. And I think this is a piece of art by Diego, by the way. And then Pascual, Diego and Pascual are monsters routing. I'm not bad at it, but those guys are freaking monsters. Anyway, you can see this. So at some point it gets to a level where you need to improve your user manual and how to explain, okay, how to drive people through the build and minimize this kind of situations here. This will stop a lot of people, because when someone see a couple of solder spots touching, you can hear the brain cracking. So yeah, it's challenging just to do proper manuals, let's say.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, it's manual writing is something that I do have a little bit of experience with, which is why I have a chip on my shoulder about it, I suppose. I used to write. Well, I mean, all right. Quick bit of my history. I worked at Turnkey, which is a music shop in London, for many years. And when I started off there, I was the I think only computer specialist. Well, I mean, the guy who hired me was the computer specialist, and then I was the PC specialist under him, and that meant that I had about 3 weeks more experience with software than anybody else, because this was 1996, and I had used by that point, I think, Cakewalk Express and Digital Orchestrator, which were two simple bits of software. And this was before Pro Tools, really. Well, Pro Tools was, I mean, Sound Tools was just migrating to Pro Tools, I think, at that time. There was Logic, had just reached version 4. Cubase was pre-VST, Cubase. And so I was sort of thrown in the deep end of looking after that part of the shop and selling that sort of software. So I had to learn very quickly. I mean, I'd run computers. I was a gamer, I'd had computers for years, PCs. I mean, and that side was not a problem. It was the use of DAW. Well, it wasn't DAW software then, hardly. Well, we had SAW, I think. But anyway, we're trying to make it into much of a long story. But so I had to spend a lot of time explaining things to customers who were coming in, understanding that they could make music on their computer, but they had no idea how to start or what they should get. All they knew was that they didn't have to buy a £20,000 studio anymore. There was something that they could use on their computer. But it was hard, and to get it to work was hard. And then after a few years, we came up with the Carillon Audio Systems idea, which was this purpose-built computer. It was just a regular computer, but it was in a decent case that made it look like a piece of audio gear. And so I worked on that, and I wrote all the manuals for it, because part of the idea was that you should be able to buy one of our starter kits, a VST starter system that came with Cubase, it came with an EMU sound card. It was all built in. It had all the connections that you needed. But the thing that was missing was how on earth do you use it? So I wrote manuals. I actually broke my leg. Unrelatedly broke my leg, but it meant I had to work from home, and so I spent the whole time writing tutorials on how, from the most basic, because I had all this experience on the shop floor of understanding that people really don't get it, and you have to assume that they have no clue. They don't know what a jack cable is. They don't know what an input or an output is. And so I wrote all these tutorials for, we had like a range of 6 or 7 systems. I wrote tutorials for all of them, exactly how you opened up the EMU control panel to get to the mixer, you plug something in here, you routed it from here, you opened up Cubase, you loaded this thing, blah, 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 blah. All this stuff, step by step, in exhaustive detail. But the great thing is that our level of tech support was tiny. compared to other firms or other people doing, or compared to our Mac department who didn't do anything like that. They had more people and were snowed the whole time with tech support, whereas I believe those manuals and tutorials that I wrote in there got people over those first steps so they could at least get sound in and out. So my experience of manuals is writing just the detail for the most stupid person I could possibly think of. You know, I mean, I would base it on, God love him, my dad. I would say, if my dad could understand this, then I have nailed it, you know, because he always, he always tried, but he would very much struggle with technology, and so I'd always aim it at trying to explain something to my dad as patiently and as long form as possible. So when faced with a manual from another manufacturer that just skips over things that they think are obvious, it drives me nuts, because it's like, you know, you've just missed out this whole section. How am I supposed to know which bag you're talking about? You know, how am I supposed to know which PCB is the control PCB and which is the hardware PCB? I don't know. How would I know? But I mean, many of these things you can get over, and I do get over them, and I work it out, and I'm sure most people would work it out. But why not have the information in the first place, so that I don't have to stumble about trying to work something out? Do you know what I mean? I mean, just to finish this bit, to say that I apologise a little bit, because I do make a fuss about manuals and stuff, and I'm sure that gets annoying to people like yourself who have to cope with my.
If it helps you, you're not alone. It's plenty of people there. In our experience, as I say, the Befaco has been oriented to workshops since ever. We have been doing workshops big time, which has been an amazing opportunity to be close to the people that will actually use the model. Mm-hmm. And then you find all sort of people that will need a handheld for the whole process, to this smart ass person that when you try to explain, sure, of course, no, don't worry, that's obvious, and then this kind of person is the one that fucks up the more. But so you see a lot of people, and then when there was this movement into selling kits, it was very challenging, because on the workshop you are face to face to people. And then you can adequate to the level. If there is someone that is really advanced and it's like, okay, yeah. So you go faster but then when you're building a manual and sending it to someone in a remote place in northern Norway, you don't know what kind of person is gonna be and how it's gonna take that manual. So finding the sweet spot, like the very nice middle ground, for not being too patronizing or being too geeky, that's an art. It
is, yeah. I mean, I feel the same way. I mean, when I'm making videos about something, I often take on this role of trying to explain something, because I mean, part of it is because it's just what I like to do, and I'm sort of explaining it to myself often, but also because I know the questions I'll get asked if I don't, you know, and I'd much rather answer them in the video in the first place. But it is. I mean, because it's like the number of times I've explained latency, for instance, because I do a lot of videos on the Surface Pro and on computer stuff, you know, and do I actually have to explain it every time? Probably, you know, and simple things like, I mean, I did the review of the Erica Synths Fusion filter yesterday. And in that, I sort of did explain what a filter does. And it's like, and it's sort of like, well, if somebody's watching a review of this big, fat, expensive, relatively pricey filter, they're probably going to know what it does, but sod it. I'm going to say, because, when you turn the cutoff knob, it's actually changing the frequency, you know. So, but what the hell? I'm gonna stick it in there, and I'm just going to assume I'm not patronizing people.
Well, you just need to choose your level. Say, okay, so this is my middle ground. There are other middle grounds, but this is mine. Just stick with it.
Yeah. I mean, because I do watch a lot of other people's videos. Certainly when I'm researching something. For instance, I also had the Fusion modulator to review as well. And I didn't really understand what it was supposed to do. So I looked up other similar modules, because this was a new one, so there was no one to tell me how it was going to work. And I found a really good video on a previous similar Erica Synths modulator module. And it suddenly, a few things clicked. Oh yeah, absolutely. But it was a 3-minute video trying to show all the features of something, and my video is 40 minutes. And it's like, I mean, he didn't explain anything, but there was just enough in there for me to go, oh yeah, of course, it's just doing that. Yeah. All right. So I can then work with that, and people have to understand that my style is to see something and then talk about it until there's nothing to say about it anymore, because we're going to have to understand what that knob does and how that knob relates to this knob, because that's just how I learn. And I'm not for everybody, some people that drives them nuts, what on earth are you doing? But I seem to have found that there's enough people out there who enjoy that level of scrutiny somehow.
I do enjoy it, I have to say.
Oh, funny.
How is the chat? I haven't checked the chat.
Yeah, let's
have the whole time.
If anybody said anything. Oh, yeah. The other question I was meant to ask was, kit-wise, have you considered surface mount? Is that something you're going to be going to, considering the smallness of things?
Yes and no.
Because I'm a believer, I'm a believer. I think you can do it. I've had so many people tell me you cannot hand solder surface mount, and then there I am hand soldering surface mount. And they're saying on the video where I hand soldered 50 capacitors, they're saying you can't do that. That's stupid. Why on earth would you do that? It's like, I don't know. I haven't got a machine to do it. I'm just going to have to do it myself.
Yeah, I don't think so. That we will. I don't think so. We thought about it, but the problem of this kind of projects is that you need to provide support. Yeah. And support is the main challenge here. Yeah. It's beyond challenging. Let's say it's the amount of people that are writing you and in which levels, while 95% of the people are amazing and comprehensive, you have like this 1, 2, or 3 that will drop this bomb email on the wrong day where you are down and not having the best of the days, and someone like bam, shit you all this shit, throw all this shit to you. It's like and ruins your day.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Basically, so
it steals your time. It just sucks time out of you.
But I don't mind my time for depending on what kind of person. I give all the time needed. It's no problem to have like a 35 email conversation with someone just to make sure that this person is having the problem fixed. It's that like it's not always as smooth as it should. Yes. So Befaco has grown. We are now a team of 9. So we have someone taking. Wow. Yeah, it's. So before I was doing the support. I was the support guy. Yeah. But now we have another guy doing the support. So the thing is that, well, I have a background. I spent like 7-8 days on technical support, on IT, routers fixing things. So I'm used to emails and angry people. But when you have someone working there, eating shit, it's not nice. I mean, if someone's gonna give shit, give it to me. I'm a professional of eating. I have my pockets. No problem. But when you have a structure and you have people that are taking care of assembling the modules and taking this and fixing the broken ones and then replying to the emails to people, that when you have like 35 emails, and which is challenging, you try to take care of people. Yes. And then you have 1 or 2 that are like, oh, fucking no. Mm-hmm. So let's say that we find that PCB sets, it's very time demanding. And SMD in particular, we do not feel as comfortable to support as through-hole. Yeah. It's something that I myself, I solder in SMD. I can do my things. I have a few models there. I solder myself. But then providing support and trying, I can give you tips on how to desolder with the desolder pump through whole thing. I'm good at that. Very good at that.
Yes.
But maybe on SMD it's not the same.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I can respect that. I think I absolutely understand where you're coming from, and
yes.
because it's a challenge. I mean, I've enjoyed. It's been like, what on earth am I doing trying to solder this surface mount stuff? But it was achievable. But I can absolutely see how it could so easily go wrong. You've only got to sneeze, and the whole thing is a disaster.
Yeah.
And I'm always doing it in the wrong way. Apparently, there's other ways of doing things. But then you got to get extra gear, and it's it becomes a whole other thing.
Yeah, I'm not saying that we might do it at some point. It's
Yeah.
possible. The thing that right now it's not the moment. It's we have been challenged, struggling to have a working team.
Yes.
And do our daily things like releasing models and then selling them and then supporting them and trying to stay creative.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
so
you do this thing where people can send their module back if it's broken or something, don't you? Which I think is an amazing service.
It is. See, for example, this is another thing. It's a service, as you say. We think it's important that people will feel that. Sorry, we get them covered. It's important that someone will, when deciding if doing this or not, have this like safe net. So it's that service is also challenging because the people from support need also to take care of fixing these models, and we don't ask. We are not putting any problem on anyone, and then suddenly you get like this thing.
Yeah.
And then you need to reply, okay, no, now your model is fixed. We are sending it back after 3 days of working on one model that was a big blob of solder.
Yes, big blob of solder. Yeah.
So let's say that it's very nice, and we are happy to do it. But it's a thing that we fight with, and people in general, because try to imagine someone sending a model from the States.
Yeah.
Taking a while to arrive to Spain. There are some customs involved. Then we need to fix it. Then we need to send it back. And then there are the customs back.
Yes,
so some people will be like 1 month and a half without the model, and in general people are super understanding. It's some models get lost in the way, and
but I had a problem like that with my Lifeforms, my voltage lab that I got from Pittsburgh Modular. The analog delay just packed up, just stopped working, and I had to send it back. And I sent it up for some reason. I chose put it on the back of a donkey type postal service. I was sure that I'd picked fully tracked, fully insured, all those kinds of things, but no, I ticked a box that said just sling it in the back of a van and forget about it for 6 months. and so it went. And it seemed like weeks passed, and I got in touch with the parcel force saying, so where's my thing? It doesn't seem to have gone anywhere since it left the UK. And they said, well, you didn't ask for any tracking, mate. I said, didn't I? Yeah, no. So it's just it's gone. You might see it. Who knows? We don't know. And it's like, oh gee whiz. So I had to wait like 6 weeks before it did finally turn up at Pittsburgh Modular. And it was fine, and they sent it back, and they sent it back properly, But as you say, there's customs impact, and the time, and the hassle, and the stress of where the hell this thing has gone, and is it actually worth it? Well, for the Lifeform thing, it most definitely was worth it because it's an expensive, large piece of kit. But for if I've just built a little, some little squidgy Befaco thing, it's like, well, I don't know if I can be bothered to send that back to Spain. So there are elements of that, I'm sure, but it depends on the value and the problem that you've got into and that kind of thing. But it's a great service to offer.
In the end, it's a matter of also to be closer to people. We are shifting a little bit from the workshop oriented structure to a more selling kits and assemble modules through shops and through our online shop, which is putting us a little bit more away from the users and having a bigger base of customers rather than users, which when you have like this direct contact, when you are on the workshop or you know the faces, you know the people, and it's different. And so trying to keep this bond when you are away, I think we are managing more or less.
Yeah, but I mean it's difficult. I mean it's something that Superbooth is good for, because you so often you see a manufacturer's website and they're all very very nice, very professional, but you have that gap between the customer and manufacturer all the time, and you're buying something from a shop and online, and you never actually speak to anybody, and you get an automated response, and then your thing turns up, and that's fine. And one of the things that Superbooth is really good at, or was really good at, was how you would turn up and you'd talk to the guy in the t-shirt and ask about the module, and you'd discover that that's the CEO of the company, that's the guy, and you imagine there's a huge factory floor of people making these modules. No, and actually it's just him and this other bloke and his wife, and that's a lot, and that's actually that's a really nice thing. It's a really nice to see behind those companies. You don't get that with Korg, you don't get that with Roland, or any of the traditional firms. There's something which is quite unique to the boutique-y nature, I suppose, of Modular, which is brilliant.
Would bring us to the topic of this will be the week of Superbooth. So and it's so nice to be talking to you here and having the people on the chat and making questions. But it would be even better to have that beer just outside in the Superbooth courtyard, seeing a concert and just being foolish.
I have to get a pretzel in. I mean, that's the Superbooth thing in here. Everyone sells pretzels. I have no idea why, but you have bread with your beer, I think, is the key.
They're proper pretzels.
Yeah, they are. They're hanging about the place.
The pretzels and the sausages. That's like 3 days of pretzel, sausages, and beer.
So what does Superbooth usually look like then? What? Because you usually have a booth, you usually have a table, do you not, at Superbooth? Yeah. So what does a normal Superbooth entail in terms of what you have to prepare, where you go, where you stay? Is it a nightmare of work, or is it a fun time?
Both. It's a fun nightmare of work. The thing is that it's so exciting, it's so nice that the huge amount of work and stress and putting yourself into a few metallic tubes that will be flying over the continent, and then getting all your luggage and getting into another metallic tube that will go under the city to go to the hotel, all that, it's a big pain. Honestly, but once you are in there, the excitement, it's so what we do normally. We started going 2 guys to the show. At the first one, it was Diego and me. For the first 2 or 3, it was only Diego and me, and that's hyper exhausting, because you need to travel, you need to go to the hotel or thing, then set up, and then spend a few days full on. From 10 a.m. that opens, you need to wake up at 8 until 8 in the afternoon on your booth and talking non-stop, screaming with all this mayhem around you, and still be a nice guy. And then after everything is finished, then you have the time to have a beer and relax, but you are so brain dead that it's so difficult to even be nice at that point. So it's something that was very nice that we did the last 2 years, is that we were like 4 or 5 Spanish brands coming from Barcelona.
Right. Yeah.
So we asked to be put together. So it was a Winter Modular and Endorphins and Patching Panda. Ourselves, maybe Plankton Electronics. So we were asking to be put The Plankton is also doing some amazing stuff. So we were asked to be put together on the same hallway, close to the DIY area, because we are more or less into the DIY. So what we did, it's to synchronize our tables. So we threw like 6-meter long cables under the carpet. So at the very beginning of Superbooth, we were just putting up all the red carpet and then putting our cables, trying and have the full show at least with some synchronization, because it's loud enough to drive you crazy, but if it's loud and wobbly, after the second day you are an ogre. It's just impossible to be nice.
See, that's a brilliant idea. That's a superb idea. I mean, surely there will come a time when everyone can drop in a sort of Avison Link module that's all running off the internal network, and every booth can be fighting for control over that tempo knob.
Yeah, I know that the Superbooth people tried to do that a while ago, and they were trying to enforce and to encourage the synchro, and they failed miserably. And I do understand, because it's challenging to have this synchro between 4 or 5 friends.
Yeah.
So try to imagine with that guy that you haven't ever met. The thing is that, for example, it's the hardest of this problem. We are all in synchro, but then suddenly DivKit comes and he's gonna make a video of the Winter Modular Eloquencer, and they are there chatting. But then we are on the table in front, and then fooling around. So we are friendly, but that's a bit annoying. Try to imagine that it's someone that you don't know from this software company that is just pumping up white noise because it's their thing. So even if you are in sync, let's say it's challenging. Because I had this conversation with Patrick de Tamper from the Superbooth organization 2 years ago, and he explained me this, that they really tried, but people were just refusing to collaborate.
Yes. Yeah, indeed. I mean, I guess you get noise level troubles as well. I mean, last year I think it was I spent some time with Instruo on their booth, because I was very interested in the Arbor and the other one I can't remember the name of. But next to them was that little AE modular, is it? The little small format with little wires modular.
Yeah.
I can't quite remember. I think it's called AE. Anyway, it doesn't matter. This little thing, anyway. But they had some big speakers, and the guy who was demoing it was just banging out this techno. I mean, it was relatively good techno. It was sounding great, but it was huge. And I'm trying to talk quite intricately about this granular thing and this slow take delay, and there's this going on right just next to you, and it's kind of like, surely we're at a point, we're all grown up enough to know that you're perhaps pushing it a little bit hard, pushing it a little bit far. You've got to just chill out a little bit for each other, I think. Otherwise it just gets too difficult. Maybe
I think that a headphones based event, it's all right, because I don't have a strong opinion on here. I just have
it has its pros.
Its pros and its cons, of course, but it's not as funky and wow, this sound. What about that? Because you are tuning your kick to the resonance of the hallway. That your kick is fatter than your neighbor kick. But you are just screwing with your neighbors. So, but then with headphones, I think it's that this experience when you are really interested in listening to this model that has these little details, these little thingies, headphones. So we have 2 headphones, and I have my little mic, and then I'm giving you a nice, relaxing, properly listened demo. I think it's something. It's very difficult to get in. To get it done, but in the theoretical world.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think shows are always a challenge, whichever way. But I mean, the beautiful thing about Superbooth is that you get the opportunity to meet, as I say, all these the people behind the stuff, the people who make the stuff, usually. And that's a rare and wonderful opportunity. I mean, those of us who aren't going, normally those of us who watch the coverage from home, you do get a sense of that, I think, because you have people like DivKid or Sonic State or whoever doing interviews with people, and you are talking to the real people. During the demo, you're getting that interaction. It's not just a sound demo of the particular unit or module. It's a conversation, and that sort of coverage, I think, they've been doing a fantastic service to the larger community that we're able to witness those things.
Yeah, and from the commercial point of view, of course, Superbooth or NAMM or these events, it's very nice for the brand, but for the person being in these events and just enjoying everything around the event. Like these evenings after 8, when you are close and you let yourself go a little bit, and then you happen to meet this person and this other, and have this conversation and this VR, and someone will get wasted, and then you have this story in common, or these after events on Sunday on Superbooth, for example, or the events that were happening in NAMM, in parallel in NAMM concerts and things. It's an amazing opportunity as a person just to get closer to other fellow synth mates, which well, it's what I'm saying. I'm coming from the workshop side, so me spending time with people, talking nonsense. It's perfect.
It is. Yeah, it is. So, are you doing anything else this week or over the course of the next couple of weeks? Inspired by Superbooth? Do you have anything else on?
Yes, I'm basically saying yes to everything. Because to everything, to whoever is asking, because I'm really happy to enjoy these times, because I'm not going to be able to meet them in person, and I was really looking forward. So tomorrow I will be recording a video with Tom from Synth Anatomy.
Oh yeah, great, yeah.
And we have this conversation pending since ever. We talked in NAMM, and he told me, hey, we should be doing a video and talking about Befaco, maybe. Maybe. This. So it seems that it's going to happen.
Great.
That will be tomorrow, and then the day after tomorrow, I will be in this single malt Scotch thing with Heinbach and Constantine. Yeah.
Great, yeah.
Invited by Constantine, whoever.
Is that just a chat, or are you demoing something or talking about a particular thing?
It's a chat. The thing is that I really find the caffeinated to try to do a demo. No, I could be saying, okay, guys, here is the Percol. It's the new model that we are going to be releasing soon. It's a 4-channel. I could. I think it's better just to chat and have a relaxing chat and talking about and doing the things that we will be doing a part of the event itself. Of course, with Tom, we will be talking about this and that, and as we did with you, like Percol. Okay, Percol is there. Yeah, it's gonna happen. But in general, I think it's gonna be conversations and talking about synths and ourselves. It's talking about ourselves. It's like the best thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So it's the two things, and that's it. I have to say that from the Befaco perspective, it was a breath of air, knowing that we will not be going to Superbooth, because we are working on a few modules and they are almost ready.
Yeah. But
not ready.
Right.
So it's this moment, and it's one of the most stressing things of going to a festival is that, okay, you're going to a festival, you're doing a lot of kilometers, you are paying money from the table, you're paying money from this and that, you need to show things, and you need to lure people to make videos of you, and you need to make as best as possible. This is a commercial opportunity. It's super stressful. From the designer point of view, when you are just designing at your own pace and it's all right, but deadlines are terrible. And this super good thing is like this deadline. Okay, guys, we need to have this module and this module ready. And then you need to push yourself. You need to push the other guys to do this. And then if you have a programmer, you need to push the programmer, and you need to push these guys. And then the factory is closed because there was a problem. It's hyper stressful.
Yeah.
Because of the commercial side of it. Yeah. So it's quite relaxing not having that pressure anymore.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, that's really interesting. I mean, maybe what's happening with this, this is an opportunity to see that it doesn't have to be on that one show. I mean, I think I absolutely believe that Superbooth in the meeting of people, as you say, is really, really important, and that should never be lost. I don't think this can ever replace that face-to-face, the fleshiness of coming into contact with somebody else. But perhaps the emphasis on that being the day that everything has to be shown, maybe that can be eased a bit. Maybe as we get more familiar with live streaming and doing this kind of easy communication, that more things could be done this way. I mean, because there's always those commercial pressures, as you say, but also in terms of presentation, in that not only do you have to have a product ready, you've got to have a slick performance, you've got to have a slick marketing video and a campaign, and then you've got to have a tease campaign running weeks before that. You know, all this work, all these people having to put all these hours in, when actually a lot of it could be replaced with a live streamed conversation, which doesn't take any time to set up or edit or produce afterwards. And it's really a matter of us as a community or something to be prepared to accept that as a valid option, and to not get trapped again in trying to produce this awesome packaging on a new product. You know, maybe this will teach us something.
It's definitely teaching me. Yesterday, again, after all the streams I was jumping from, like for the deep kit one, then myself, then deep kit with yourself, then and then give it a couple of thoughts. I was like amazed on this new thing. It's not new. Twitch is doing this on the video game side since ever. People just doing live streams and talking to each other. So we're not inventing that. But I'm really amazed, and maybe we will have more data after a few weeks when we look back and try to see. Definitely, I'm really enjoying more this side of things than the commercial side. Of course, the commercial side is in a way needed because some people will rely on this source of exposure in order to put their work out there and to get some attention. We are trying to make the best out of a very difficult situation for everyone.
Yes.
Musicians, manufacturers, media, the Superbooth organization. I don't want to imagine how it's being all this for the Superbooth image. So from here, guys, good.
Yeah,
because I just cannot imagine the amount of stress and suffering this is happening. So let's say that we are gonna learn the good parts of this fucked up situation. Let's say. Yeah,
and maybe we'll treasure it more. You know. You don't know when you've got it good until something's taken away, perhaps.
Definitely. I'm happy with this live stream new paradigm, and I'm open for to keep this thing alive and participate. If someone is inviting me, here am I with my beer.
Great, that's awesome. So how are you for time? Do you want us to wind it up? It's starting to get late, or are you?
I'm about to light a cigarette. I'm that relaxed. For me, I don't know. Maybe we could go to the chat and see if there are questions and maybe definitely interact with humans. We have been talking non-stop for a lot of time. So
that's what we do, man.
No.
Yeah, let's have a look. No, it's all nonsense. Superbooth sounds horrible, says Tempora Botor. Yeah, no, it is and it isn't. That's the thing, that with trade shows, to work a trade show is hard work, but it's also packed full of fun. It is. I mean, I've done a whole number of NAMs. I did the big NAM show for a number of years, and it's exhausting, but also you get to meet extraordinary people and you go to extraordinary things in the evening. Gigs, I saw a Living Colour gig, with about 20 other people in a bar, things like that. Amazing. There's that guy's name I can't remember, playing piano in the bar afterwards, and meeting Stevie Wonder, and I was in the toilets at the same time as Slash. All these things.
You were in the toilet with Slash.
I was having a slash with Slash. Yes, that's one of my claims to fame. And it's not quite so rock and roll at Superbooth, but you do get the opportunity to meet people like Manu and people who, I spoke to Dieter Dofer last time I was there last year, who I met at the Thomann Synth Reactor, a few months before. And these are people who invented this format that we're playing around on, and people who have done extraordinary things. Gosh, and Make Noise, Gosh America, people and stuff. It's an amazing event, and I would absolutely encourage anyone to go next time that it's on.
Yeah.
Similarly, other things like Synthfest up in Sheffield in the UK, or other bits and pieces like that. The opportunity to see bits of hardware that you normally only ever talk about or see on YouTube is great.
Yeah,
it's a great thing.
It sounds exhausting, because it is.
Yes, yeah, it is. But
it's
some
totally
things
worth
are.
it. It's
yeah,
totally
that's right.
worth it. You have all these stories back with you. With it's for you. So it's everyone is going to enjoy the event in a different way, and it's going to be tired and jet laggish even, but we all do enjoy the event. So even if it sounds, it's totally worth it. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
Harsh. What was I harsh on?
Okay, Mook Lee, someone that attended the workshop in Nopcom. This kind of things. I don't remember the face of this person, but I do have the memory of the workshop in Nopcom. It was fantastic.
Ah.
It was fantastic.
See, I've always wanted to do the Moog one. I've every year for Moog Fest, when they do that VIP build a Moog synth thing, I always write about it for Gear News, then put it at the bottom. If anybody wants to send me over there to do it, pay for me to go and build the thing, I'll happily give it to you afterwards. I don't need to keep it. I'll build it for you on your behalf. And one day, someone's going to step up and say, yeah, here you go, mate. I'll send you over. Here's a nice hotel. Off you go. That would be ace. I'd love to do that. No, there's nothing interesting going on in there. But that's all right. You've been talking amongst yourselves.
Yeah,
that's fine. So we before we came on, we spoke briefly about the Look Mum No Computer kits that I've been looking at. Well, they're not kits at all. This is the next stage. So I showed this a little bit yesterday, but I thought I would go a little bit further, perhaps.
Yeah, I really found interesting the fact that you say that you are a carpenter.
Not really.
Well, but you know how to work the wood.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's interesting. It's another one of those weird parts of my life where I, for a small period of time, was a wood turning person. First of all, I made a recorder. A recorder, beautiful, and I learned how to work a lathe and to work wood in that way. And it was a beautiful thing, and I spent time doing that. And then after that, I thought, well, I'm going to do my major project on a wooden flute, and it was brilliant because this was a music tech college, or it was actually originally the London College of Furniture. They actually had a big furniture department. They also had a massive piano tuning department, and they had this side project which was music technology, which at the time when I did it was growing. It was starting to take over. because they had a Fairlight, they had some Moog Modular, they had other bits and pieces that was emerging at the time. But I found myself in the woodwork workshop rather, and lots of the people that I was knocking around with would come out of their digital something or other class, and sit there with of course there were no phones, sitting there with a phone. No, they'd open a book and read it. Whereas I'd come back into the bar and I'd be covered head to foot in sawdust, purple sawdust, because I was making this thing out of Kingwood, which had this wonderful deep burgundy hue to it. And so I was just covered head to foot in sawdust. And that was my student life, just being covered in sawdust, making these things. And it was just totally brilliant. Could I do it now? No, I don't think so. But at the time, it was an awesome thing. But yeah, so no, I wouldn't call myself I just like having a go at stuff, I get momentarily good at something and then I move on to something else.
Yeah, but because if you're going to do this Look Manu computer thing, you are going to need to build the instrument. It's not like building a Eurorack module and put it on the case that you already got with rails, power and things. So you are going to need to work on that, which for me, for example, is super challenging to do the casing and the wiring and the thing. So
yeah, I mean this is it's a beautiful, trying to get that right. These are beautiful panels. They really are nice.
Yes.
And oddly, they're two-sided. So I don't know whether you choose which design you want to go with, or what. But they're amazing. I mean, this one tells me what all the bits do. This is a VCA, a quad VCA, I think. I don't know. And the idea, if you didn't hear me talk about this yesterday, the idea is this is from Sam Battle. Now, I've no idea whether he invented the format or what. But but the idea is this is Look Mum No Computer guy, Sam Battle, who does a lot of performing with Modular. And as you may know, his performances are quite lively and frenetic, and he bounces around and he likes to get physically involved in things. And Eurorack is just too small. Moog Modular is too expensive. Eurorack is too small. So he's took the idea of taking Eurorack and turning it just into a larger format. So he calls this 5U metric, or Cosmo, named after one of his weird creations, I think. And so he's slowly built up a selection of modules, which there's now enough of them to build an actual synth. So I thought, I'll have a go at that. I'll build a bloody synth. I mean, there's the PCB. They're nice and big. You see, everything's nice and far apart. You see that, Manu? Everything's, lots of room. Lots of room, nice.
I got the message. I got the message.
I'll get through a lot of solder. But again, I mean, there's artwork on these things, which is just lovely.
Yeah,
so, he's really put some time and effort into putting this together. So, it's made a really nice product. Now, the problem that I'm going to encounter, I better make sure I put these in the right thing, is that it's not a kit. It's just a panel and a PCB. So for me to, I'll get a smaller one out. For me to actually make it, I'm going to have to source and buy the components. Now, I did a bit of that with the Decard stream, but ultimately I bought a synth, a big bundle of kit components from a company called Synthcube. So they supplied the entire components. I had the PCBs and they supplied the components. So, whereas this one I'm going to have to source all the stuff myself. I mean, this is it's an envelope. See, that's an ADSR. But it's it's big. You can have plenty of room to turn the knobs, which is the point, And I'm really into that. But as you say, no cases exist to take this this stuff. So I'm going to have to do something along those lines myself.
Yeah, but it's a very beautiful project. You're going to build your own instrument.
Yeah.
And also the Sam's take on the modules that he's designing. I like it because it's like very basic things.
Yes.
It's a filter, it's an oscillator, it's an envelope, it's a VCA, maybe it's 4 of them. And I think that way of designing an instrument, it's very educative because it's gonna make you actually synthesize the sound, which is a very nice. I don't know. You have a magneto there that it's a monster of doing.
Oh, it is a monster.
You can just have like a piezoelectric thing and the magneto and only with that and tweaking the magneto and you make music.
Yeah.
But with this approach, it's very nice because you are actually.
Yeah. I mean, the first time that he came to my attention, I mean, I think I saw him bouncing around and just thought, oh, you know, these kids, whatever, you know, that's fine. But I saw him make a filter on the back of a cornflakes packet with, I don't know, a pen of conductive material or something, you know, something ridiculous. And he drew on a few bits and pieces and stuck resistors in it. And it was a flipping filter. And I thought, well, actually, this guy's a genius. That's just amazing. And it suddenly went, yeah, I had no idea that actually the circuit was that simple and you could do such things. And you can just, you know, trace it out. It's, you know, it opened up some of that magic, I think. And I suddenly thought, yeah, no, that's amazing. And so amongst the crazy things that he does, you know, and the entertaining things he does, he also is a really smart cookie and he knows what he's doing. And he takes on these sometimes ridiculous projects, but I mean, he does the work. It's not as if he's got some other team who are doing it all for him and he just does the mad bit at the end. No, I mean, I remember another video where he took apart a 2HP something or other to try to put that into his format, and he spent like days soldering little tiny things to bring all the wires out so he could just put a couple of big knobs on it, you know. And he's dedicated to the task of trying to do that. Well, I'll just grab the case that I'm planning to build this into, if you give me a minute, just yeah, just for interest's sake.
Let me see. Wow, look at that. Look at that.
Plugs back in. So yeah, I picked this up for £5. 5 of your earth pounds, please, which is, look at it, it's an old steamer trunk kind of thing, which inside it has this, it has this ability, first of all, the lid comes off, which is great.
Yeah, it's super convenient.
Yeah, it smells like old people in here, but it has this sort of system of silk things that enable you to hang clothes on and put all this stuff away. You know, it's a very sort of smart, posh kind of case for someone who's posh and full of interesting things that you can put together. So, but the fact that the top comes off, I'm going to get rid of that bit for a minute, means that I could build it in the bottom. I mean, I'm going to have to rip all this out, of course, which seemed a shame, but it did only cost a £5. But into here, with a bit of luck, I've got a couple of rails here. I can fit, this is an 84 HP rail. I can, let me get, this way over here a little bit more. There we go.
Okay.
Obviously, it's going to have to be taller, but I reckon I can get a couple of those in here.
Yeah, it seems like space for two, yeah.
Space for 2 rows.
Yeah.
Like that. So that's the plan, because it should, as I understand it, fit into Eurorack rails ultimately. So I just need to get another pair of those and somehow, I imagine, fashion something that fits inside here. So I don't really want to be putting screws through the side of the case particularly, or at least not put the rails through the side, because I think this is really only reinforced cardboard pretty much. Yeah. So essentially I'll build a plywood internal that'll sit inside, and then it will be, you know, a case with a handle that I'll be able to tape to a gig, open her up and play.
What I'm thinking is that if this is gonna be like a fixed system with Cosmos modules, where you are gonna make a fixed system, maybe it doesn't make that much sense to use the rails, because maybe you are gonna finish the thing and then don't touch it, because Eurorack, maybe you're gonna be wiggling around new modules this. Or so maybe if you're gonna do the playwood rack, let's say, maybe you can just have like playwood sides and then screw it directly and don't move it too much.
That's an interesting thought, actually. I mean, I just assumed using a rail purely for I guess the fact that that's already set up to.
Yeah. It's super convenient for sure.
Yeah, exactly. It's convenient that it's got screws in the side, so that that can be mounted into something, and then you've got something which is the right size to take it. But you're right. It doesn't have to be that way. I mean, the other thing is I'm quite interested in the idea of breaking out of the row format. I recently, a while ago, saw this cube modular system, because one of the struggles I think when performing live is how do people see it and appreciate the machine. Because I remember the first time I did it, I sat the machine down in front of me and looked at the audience, because that's what I'm used to doing with the guitar. And then I thought, but you can't see what I'm doing, and therefore you're wandering off and having a beer because I don't appear to be doing anything. There's music coming, but it could be coming from anywhere. So, all right then. So the next time I did it, I turned it round. And and I presented the machine, said, "Here's the machine I'm going to work on." And then I turned my back and stood in front of it, so no one could see again what I was doing. And it's like, wow, there's got to be another way. I mean, some people I know put it flat, and that can work, or put it on the floor, or angle it up, or play it backwards, where you have everything reversed and you play it upside down. So it's, I mean, that's a way of doing it. But I was thinking, if it's something that gradually turned around, like on a cone. They had different modules stuck out, like maybe even on sticks, so it stuck out as this spiky thing, and then you would go around plugging things in here and plugging things in there and going around it like you're Doctor Who in the TARDIS, going around the control panels. Maybe that would make for a more interesting performance. I mean, it's a pain in the arse to carry to somewhere on the bus, obviously.
Yeah.
But, maybe because ultimately, if this is my imagination doing it, then it would all fold down like an umbrella, and then you get to the gig and you go, and this thing would stand up, complete with lights and everything going on. Yeah, exactly. That's the only way it has to go. So maybe I don't need to pack it into a case. Maybe I can have it a bit more freeform. Maybe I could put each one into an individual box.
So, and then setting up each individual box. Ooh. Be careful.
There's all sorts of things.
Yeah. Did you saw the modular carousel that the Schneidersladen had in Superbooth?
No.
They have this thing with mainly Doepfer modules and some other modules. So they have like this big structure with cases. So the structure had was rotating,
right?
But it was like huge. So you had like maybe 6-7 modular systems with speakers. So the idea was so you are patching, pom 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 pom, doing thing, but it's moving. So at some point when it's moving, this is off, and then you get the next synth that someone was patching before you. And then you were getting this patch, and then so it's a fantastic idea. It was very. Would you say you see the thing? It's this thing rotating with modules, but the truth is that it's funny for a while. But at some point, from the perspective point of view, you need to get ready to make it enjoyable for the audience.
Absolutely. I mean, but there's a flip side to that as well, which is because I'm always fascinated by different forms of control. I'm forever picking up gloves, MIDI gloves, or MIDI waving things, or I'm always fascinated by it, but it always fails because your arms ache. Whatever happens, your arms ache. You can't get away from it. I've got this wonderful Genki Instruments, is it, ring thing, where you open the filter and then you change the pitch, and it's great, but your arms ache. So you use it for a bit and you enjoy it, and I'm really into that kind of thing. Same as I'm into touchscreens, those sorts of different ways of approaching something. But it's really hard to do it long term. You could probably do it in a gig, perhaps, but to practice at home and to actually make music in that way is just really hard because we're lazy and we just want to slouch and we want to just plug something and move on, And that And I think, although my head's now going, oh no, I could do things on telescopic things. It only needs power. That's all it needs from the back. It doesn't need anything more than that. I'm thinking, oh, that'd be great, but it's going to be so cumbersome to actually work on. It'll be great for performance, but terrible to attempt to use.
Yeah,
in a real sense.
Yeah, for me, it's hard enough to control my patch and to control the sounds, and also if I need to be doing something at the same time, more performative side, and actually moving or doing something meaningful apart of. I'm not sure. But it definitely will need preparation, let's say.
Yeah. Cool. Well, look, it's 10:30, 11:30 your end. That's 2 hours. We seem to do, the last couple have been a couple of hours. So I imagine we should probably draw it to a close. It's been totally awesome having you on here. We've never spoken. We've only ever spoken via Messenger and bits and pieces like that. So it's great to meet you relatively properly.
Likewise. It's not like in a pub, but it's so nice to be here. I really enjoy the way you deal with these live streams, and I really love it. So it's amazing being here and spending 2 hours. I could do another cigarette and spend another hour, but
I've decided I've got to keep it a little bit under control. I mean, I promised people an hour. I said we'll do an hour, and then it just keeps going, which is great. It just means that we're relaxed enough, I think. Yeah. And people are still here. Because I've reorganised my set of windows. I've no idea what our figures are like. Let me have a quick look. Look at that. There's flipping 87 people still here, and it's late, man. So, that's really nice. So I do appreciate all you in the chat. That's lovely that you're here. I mean, we're not interacting a huge amount with you, but what the heck? Yeah. We'll see what happens. There's other opportunities to do that, I think.
Yeah, we're taking the opportunity to know each other a little bit more.
Yeah, and that's great.
Indeed.
Awesome.
Indeed.
So coming up then, I suppose I have I've got Eden Gray on Wednesday. She's a modular musician and founder of CV Freaks, if you're familiar with that. It's a festival / seminar / performance space that's been regularly happening. I understand that she's working now on sort of moving to some kind of podcast idea, but she's one of the first people that I spoke to about modular. She was at that synth fest that I went to where I discovered modular for the first time, and she was kind enough to talk to me about her system, and totally blew my mind and impressed me then, and it continues to impress me since, and I'm really looking forward to talking to her on Wednesday. That'll be great. Then on Thursday I've got Gert from Erica Synths coming along to talk about their new modules and other things that there's another module to come this week that it got lost in the post, but should be with me tomorrow, and I'll be able to hopefully do a video on that. If you've not seen my video on their new Fusion filter and Fusion modulator, then go and check those out. They were released on the channel today. Then going into the weekend, I've secured Mark's Doty for next Sunday. In fact, let me just check what's going on. I've lost track of where I am.
Too many things, eh?
Too many things. Yeah, Mark Doty on Sunday. Then I hopefully have Helen Lee, who's a modder and hacker and person who creates music technology out of bits and pieces. Hopefully speaking to her Monday next week. Then I've got a friend of mine, Matt Colville, who's a dungeon master and modular enthusiast. Do you know? Did I ask you this question before? Do you know whether?
I don't know him. But I'm so looking forward seeing this clash of worlds. No, a dungeon master. I also have my Dungeons and Dragons past. So seeing someone like a proper dungeon master and now into modular and discussing things.
Well, I was just having a look at some of his stuff yesterday just to remind myself of who the heck he is. But he did a couple of Kickstarter campaigns on sort of an expanded rule set for Dungeons and Dragons that includes sort of building what he calls strongholds, as in your character can build a village or a church or a castle, and then that's associated with other characters and armies, and then he raises these other things. And there's a whole expansion of this. And, you know, he needed like, I don't know, 300 grand, and they got like 2 million in pledges. And he's done that a couple of times, and it's just extraordinary. And he's constantly on Twitch doing live streams of, you know, with 8 people in a live stream all playing Dungeons and Dragons together and stuff like that. It's fascinating. It's a world that I never quite got deep enough into. You know, I dipped my toe into it for a few times. But I do find it fascinating. And, you know, he was inspired by one of my videos to start looking into modular, and now does it quite seriously. And so we're going to talk about how to get started in modular, what sort of paths and roads you take, that kind of thing. And I'm looking forward to that being an interesting time. I've never spoken to him in person either, so that's going to be good. I also have This Is Not Rocket Science as well. I've just spoke to them today, and I don't think we've decided on a day yet.
Lovely couple there.
Absolutely. But so that'll be coming along soon. I'm going to have to think about where that's going to fit in, but yeah, we can work that out. And I've also got Bob Rogue from the Black Corporation. There could be many more, because at some point I had to stop asking because I needed to do some work. So if people are still enjoying this and it's good, then I'll keep asking until people start saying no, I guess.
Or stop it.
Yeah, or I run out of time and I need to sort of get my life back. Maybe that'll be a quicker thing. So that's what's coming up. But of course, this week is also the lead up to Superbooth, and at the end of the week, there's a whole stack of stuff happening. Exactly what that is, nobody knows, but you need to keep on checking out superbooth.com. Checking on there. Also, Sonic State have got a load of stuff going on. Other people have got a lot of stuff going on. So look out for the hashtag Superbooth20, I think seems to be the one people are going for. And it's going to be a lot of stuff happening this week, I should think. Yeah. So that'll do. Thanks again, Manu. Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed that. I will enjoy having a hack away at your kit.
I'm looking forward to your feedback.
Yeah, sometime soon. And yeah, in the meantime, all you out there, go and make some tunes. That'll be the thing. Right, so we'll cut the feed. Oh, that's my job, isn't it? Hang on. So let me find the right button. Thanks, everyone. Let's give you a wave. Bye.